Well, a very good day to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Kenya's most comprehensive political and public governance analysis show here on Haman Manyora's YouTube channel. My good name is Evans Okinyi. Such a pleasure to always have you on board. Well, this fine afternoon or morning, so to say, I'm joined here by Wakili Willie Sotieno. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
As I always say, our eyes are set on the ground.
Yes.
Looking at the various moves and policies that the government is making, and always keeping our viewers up to date with the analysis of the same, and to know the kind of impact that this will actually have on the lives of the citizens of this great country. Here we are. Hardly a year has passed, and of course we had the controversial Finance Bill 2023 with people giving in a lot of views therein. But then we are expecting a new finance bill, and even before it's presented formally, tabled before the parliament, already there are a raft of proposals therein that are not actually going on well with the people. We've got the 2.5% of course tax that is proposed to be levied on vehicles. We've got the introduction of 16% VAT on bread and all that. Amidst all these challenges, when a number of Kenyans are actually right now grappling with the high cost of living, so to say, what do you make of the sudden change and decision of the government and the way they are managing the affairs of this country?
You know, I've said this for the last 6 months, and I've said on this show, that when the time comes, they will increase your taxes, charges, and levies. Our problem, and I keep saying, is not a revenue problem. Our problem is an expenditure problem. Look at how much you are spending on debt, for example. If you are going to spend 80% of your revenue on debt finance, you're only left with 20% of the revenue to run government, pay salaries, run the operations of government, do development, send to counties. Then you have a problem. It's not enough. And that is why they keep coming to raid your pockets. We had actually said it, that there will be haircuts on people's money. When Kenya Kwanza introduces a tax on your asset, on your motor vehicle, that is a haircut by another name, because they are coming to slash part of your asset. Because the principles of taxation, tax is based on an income. You've done something and you've earned money. Or you are taxed at the point of acquisition of an asset. That's why you have stamp duty, you have import duty. At the time of acquisition, you have VAT. Once you acquire the asset, you've paid all the taxes. It is now your property. A vehicle that you have, you are not doing anything that you're earning more. And if you're earning more from a vehicle, maybe you're using it for commercial purposes, then you pay tax on that business that you're doing. But this instance, Kenya Kwanza wants to tax you for owning a motor vehicle, just for owning. Next, they will come to tax you for owning a house or a piece of land. Then they will come to your deposits in an account. They will tax you for owning money. Because it's the same principle. These are assets that people own. How do you tax an asset? What is the justification? Property rates, not a tax, it's a rate. It is charged for a service that is offered to that property. Sewage, road maintenance, garbage collection, facilities that the county government provide to the land. When it comes to vehicles, for maintenance of the roads the vehicle is using, you already taxed fuel levy for maintenance of the roads. So what is the justification for this if it is not a haircut? The government is broke. It is now coming to the sovereign by now trying to get a pie off the plate of the sovereign. So they come for your assets. So today is motor vehicles, tomorrow it will be border. then it will be a fixed deposit account, it will be your property, land that you own, it will be your house, until it runs you bankrupt. A broke government will run you bankrupt before it goes bust. That is what Kenyans are seeing today. And I can assure you, last year, when they did the Finance Act, I said they will not meet the revenue targets. We've reached the Laffer curve. There's nothing more. Some people are shouting that, oh, they will surpass. They didn't meet. They were meant to collect 210 billion per month to meet their target of 2.9 trillion. They were averaging 170 billion. The same amount that Uhuru Kenyatta, when he was in power, was averaging. Why? And yet they had increased the VAT on fuel. They had come up with additional taxation measures. But they're not doing more than what Uhuru was doing.
So where do you think the problem is getting in? Because we are having a situation whereby the government has got a target that it's supposed to collect in terms of revenue, and basically all this comes from tax. But then they don't meet that. Then where could
that is what I'm telling you. It's called the Laffer curve. The Laffer curve is where you've taxed people to a point where you can't tax them anymore. There is now the law of diminishing returns. People are no longer going to engage in productive activity. So, for example, on VAT on fuel, if you impose 16% VAT on fuel, the use of fuel, the consumption of fuel goes down because it's more expensive. Motor vehicles will increase the fare, matatus will increase the fare, pedestrians, users, will opt to walk. People will abandon commercial use of tractors to farm. They now use oxen. Some will use hand plows. So if you had a tractor, that tractor will now be lying idle there. So the consumption of fuel for that tractor will go down because it's now more expensive to engage. That is the Laffer curve. Employers who you are struggling with high tax, they'll just reduce the workforce. So if you had 100 employees, now he has 10.
Okay.
What you're earning in terms of pay as you earn goes down. Consumption tax, because of the layoffs by the employers, reduces. Because now fewer people have disposable income to spend in that economy. So we are the Laffer curve. There's nothing they can do about it. And even this year, with these new taxation measures on motor vehicles, you'll see more and more people are going to park their vehicles. They can't afford that cost. You'll collect less. When they park their vehicles, do you know the correlating effect is that even the consumption of fuel goes further down? So you're actually self-sabotaging with these taxation measures. There's what we call behavioral economics. Understand the behavior of your people before you come up with these measures that are punitive to them, and understand their earning capacities. People are struggling to eke a living. They are looking for reliefs. If you impose more taxation on them, they are going to adjust to alternatives that moves them away from your economy. Or they just abandon that engagement. So you end up collecting less and less in terms of revenue. So Kenya Kwanza cannot resolve this problem. This problem can only be resolved if we start by saying, why do we have an appetite to keep increasing the tax that we impose on our people every day? It is because we have an expenditure problem. And our largest expenditure of our books is called debt finance. Why are we spending 80% of our revenue to pay for debt? It's only as upon you to open that debt book. Ask yourself, why is debt consuming the bulk of my revenue? What is this debt? How comes I keep paying and yet the amount is not going down? What did this debt finance in my economy that is not able to pay for itself? What was the money used for? When was the loan taken? Did it ever reach this country? Ask those questions because it's the largest expenditure of your books. And it's what is causing you to constantly be at war with your citizens. Because what we are witnessing today is Kenya Kwanza is at war with its citizens. They keep imposing more and more pain on their citizens every day. They are refusing to look at where the problem is. And the problem is on the debt books.
Talk to me about this. The government has actually defended itself on this particular move, and they're saying that they've got robust and ambitious development plans that need development projects and plans that need to be implemented. And they're saying that they cannot actually do this without taxing, of course, without raising revenue. And their main source of revenue, according to them here, would be taxes. And they've given that as part of the reason as to why day in, day out, they're raising taxes, coming up with new levies upon its citizenry and all that. What do you make of the government's response and defense?
You know, say this. We've just finished a financial year. We're just coming to an end of a financial year. Okay. By end of June, we only have 1 month to go. Tell me which major project Kenya Kwanza did and launched this financial year. Because at the end of last financial year, they came up with this increased taxation. And they said the same thing. It is to facilitate our development. It has taken them more than 6 months to build and repair the roof at JKI. Tell me which major road have they launched. Kibaki could say in his first year he had launched Thika Road. Yeah, people could see. The project had started, tendering process was going on. There was a move towards a project. Uhuru, with his failures, had launched his SGR, Chuchu train. Tell me the major project. Now it is 2 years. This is the second, we've done the second year. Tell me that project that they are saying, we are collecting all this money to launch this major project or projects. Which one? The roads in this country are going to waste. This last 1-2 months with the flooding, look at the state of our roads. They will not repair them. Maintenance is done. I happen to travel the country and I can tell you the state of our road network is now horrible. What is the Marshall Plan that Kenya Kwanza has of what they want to do? The only successful thing they've done is to renovate State House as the priority. You know, even when you see them not paying doctors, the interns, it is not that they hate the interns. It's just the expenditure problem. Where is the money going to come from? They are trying to avoid the inevitable. You are actually in a cash crunch. You are unable to meet your obligations. You are bankrupt. The Kenyan state is bankrupt. It is bankrupt because of debt. And that debt, we've said before, and we keep insisting, is odious. The sooner they open those debt books, the better for this country. And there's nothing they will do before they open those debt books. Because as I've told you, last year, they told us their financing model. They gave their target. They didn't meet it. This year again, they've come up with their finance bill. They have a target of how much revenue they want to collect. They shall not meet it. Come rain, come shine. We are the Laffer curve. There is nothing they are doing to spur or to stimulate this economy that will guarantee more collection in terms of tax revenue. So we are in a quagmire. What we end up doing, what we end up having as a country, is that the little money that remains after they've paid the debt is used to finance individual comfort. That is why you see the Ds and those other advisors have been allocated almost more than 1 billion shillings to do nothing. So they're just looking for money for their own personal comfort. They're not looking for money to serve Kenyans. So the collections are not meant to serve Kenyans. The collections are just meant to hopefully keep the state afloat and then to finance their own personal comforts. There is no service that Kenyans are going to get out of Kenya Kwanza. And the sooner we accept that fact, the better for this country.
Here we are, Wakili, definitely. You are talking this way and saying very well that we are in a crisis as a country. Of course, we've got still the debt crisis that we are in as a nation. But then the government is failing to meet its target in terms of revenue collection therein. but we also accumulating a lot of debt, of course, with just the advancement of the Eurobond was renewed the other day, and of course the IMF gave us another loan. We are also expecting some. Of course, the president keeps on making these kind of steps, and we are looking at a situation whereby our debt burden is actually increasing. So what then do you think would be the way out of all this problem now that we found ourselves in?
You know, when you find yourself in a hole, the first thing you do is to stop digging.
Okay.
Right? So stop borrowing.
Is the government doing that?
They are borrowing. In fact, I've just look at the Eurobond. The last Eurobond was taken at 6% interest rate. They went for Eurobond refinance at 10.35% interest rate. Now, if you had a problem of debt, that time the problem was 6% interest rate, you decide to go and take another one at 10.35% interest rate. Are you not digging further? You are compounding the problem. That's what they are doing. So the first thing is you must stop digging. The second thing, you must confront your nightmare. Kenya Kwanza has to confront its worst nightmare. William Ruto must confront his worst nightmare, which is this debt. He must look that debt into the eye and subject it to an audit and take painful decisions. Whatever debt is in that book that is illegal, that is odious, we must cut it out. We must stop paying. You will never collect any money from Kenyans that will be enough to address that debt monster. You will not.
Talk to me about the legal debts, leave alone the odious bit that you're talking about.
I'm telling you, in terms of our laws, for you to borrow, number one, you only borrow for development. So you go to take a loan to finance a particular development project. Number two, it must be passed by Parliament. So go and look at the Appropriations Act, because that's where Parliament passes borrowing. In the last 10 years or 11 years now, what did Parliament approve? Should be borrowed. It comes to 2.6 trillion. But if you go to our debt books, how much was borrowed? Almost 7.6 trillion. So you borrowed 5 trillion more outside illegally, outside parliamentary approval. And that money didn't go to any project. That's odious debt on the table. Why should Kenyan people bear the burden of that debt? That's a debt that we should say, hey, we don't know where this came from. We don't know where it went. I mean, let's audit it. Subject it to a forensic audit. And as a FINA party, we've done our forensic audit. And we can tell you that odious debt. And the Kenyan people need not pay it. But the more Kenya Kwanza keeps and Ruto keeps kicking the can down the road, the more they are compounding the problem. That problem will now be bigger than it was yesterday, than it was last year. It keeps growing by the day. It is what is going to swallow this country. And William Ruto and his Kenya Kwanza. This odious debt. That is what they are trying to run away from. The Kenyan people cannot finance the executive without confronting the debt. It will swallow them, that I assure you.
So certain professionals and, of course, analysts and economists do believe that perhaps the government is actually bowing to the whims of certain multinational financial institutions that would actually, that could be what is actually responsible for the kind of taxation drive that we're witnessing in the country. What do you make of such kind of assumptions?
But those multinational institutions come in when what happens? They come in because you are not able to pay your debt. Yeah, simple. IMF and World Bank will not go to a country and impose conditions when that country is fiscally stable. Yeah. They were not here when Kibaki was running the country. They only come in when you are unable to deal with your debts. And now you need some support. And I'm saying they will keep coming with their conditions. Too bad. But you can as well decide, I'm not going to retain them. Can I open my debt books and find how I ended up in this place? That's what we're asking of William Ruto. Just open those debt books and find out how you ended up in this problem. Then you should be able to confront IMF and World Bank with a straight face and tell them, I can pay only this, I cannot pay the odious one. And you get instant relief to the people. But this prescription that you are trying to pursue of increasing charges and taxes and levies on the people of Kenya, I assure you, as tomorrow follows today, it will not fill the hole. The problem will still be there. It is just going to get compounded.
Okay.
You will never address a debt problem using revenue. When you don't have a revenue problem, your problem is expenditure. They need to put that in their head. The problem that Kenyan state is facing today is not lack of money. It is how the money collected is spent. And we are saying the largest expenditure item of our books is debt finance. 80% of your money goes to debt finance. That's a problem. Even in your own household. You cannot tell me that out of your earning, that 80% of what you earn is going to pay a loan in the bank. A loan which you don't know what you are paying for. A loan you cannot trace what it was used for in the family. Then there's a problem. Because with the 20% you are left with, how are you expected to pay rent, which needs 30% of your revenue? How are you expected to pay school fees and buy food, which needs 30% of your revenue? It's problematic. That is why they're in a trap. They're in a fiscal warp. And now, that warp is wrapping itself around their neck, aiming to swallow them. This debt is exactly that. And they keep coming to the people of Kenya to squeeze life out of us.
Finally, talk to me about the introduction of the 16% VAT on bread. Definitely, this is a food that is common with people and the lower, let me say, lower class of life.
Mass consumed goods.
Of course.
Put it this way. Same problem. You hope that they will be able to collect more when these mass consumed goods, you increase the VAT on the product. What will happen is this. More and more of the people who must consume that good, that bread, will drop it. They'll opt for other tubers. They'll go for cassava, potatoes, or not eat at all, because it's beyond their reach. It's not like these people have disposable income, that they're able to do it. If a family was buying a full loaf of bread now, they'll abandon bread. If it's too expensive, out of their reach. They'll opt to now go and buy guache, or cassava, sweet potatoes. Right? Or they'll just forgo breakfast and aim to have something for dinner, or eat the leftovers from dinner as breakfast, if they're lucky. What is the effect of that to your target as government? You are hoping that family will still buy the same loaf of bread. They've dropped it. You've lost on the revenue. The bread baker is going to be baking fewer pieces of bread every day. The impact of that is that in terms of his sales will go down. So his corporate tax will go down. He has to reduce his workforce. So his pay as you earn contribution will go down. Consumption tax from his workforce will go down. So you are actually self-sabotaging with these measures. I'm telling you, it is self-sabotage. It cannot work. Consumption tax is supposed to come in a way that you are inducing mass consumption of the product, not constricting. You earn in terms of volumes, not by increasing the rate. You increase the rate, the consumption of the product goes down. Consumption goes down, less and less revenue is collected. That is basic economics.
Okay. Here we are. Do you still believe the president has the plan and the right
He has a plan to cause pain to the people of Kenya, and that plan is working. There's no other plan. The plan is to cause us pain. And I've told you, and I promise my listeners, if you think today is painful, you all know that today is more painful than yesterday was. But I also guarantee you, tomorrow will be more painful than today is. That is the standard premium of William Ruto and Kenya Kwanza. you are guaranteed that tomorrow you'll feel more pain than you're feeling today.
Why do you think, because you're here telling me that the only way out is for the president to stop digging. Why do you think it's so difficult for him to heed to that advice and actually stop digging the kind of debt hole that
Because he thinks that you can solve the problem by collecting more from the people. But the reality is there's nothing from the people. There's nothing left. You've squeezed every penny out of them. They still think people have money out there. They still think that when you see people driving cars, that if every car owner is made to pay a tax on their motor vehicle, we'll have enough money. I assure you, the moment you impose that tax, many vehicles will be grounded. They will not take, number one. Number two, many of them will not take out insurance. Yeah. In fact, you just opened a racket for the police to collect more. People will be driving vehicles here without insurance. So even whatever little you're making out of insurance premiums will go down. Because people will not take out insurance. You're telling me someone who has a vehicle that he takes third-party insurance on at 10,000 shillings. Now you're telling him to pay you 100,000 shillings. Himself, he's avoided taking comprehensive insurance cover. He's been surviving on third party. Now you're telling him, over and above his third party, he pays government 100,000. Let's be serious. He's avoided that for his comprehensive cover to give him comfort on his motor vehicle. Now he's just paying that as tax. They will not do it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are with Wakili Willis Otieno. Definitely you can weigh in on this conversation and tell us what you think about the recent proposals in the Finance Bill 2024. Let's wait and see whether these proposals will go through and whether they'll be signed into law and become an act. But then we are also waiting to see the kind of impact that this will actually have on the life and livelihoods of Kenyans in this country. Allow me to stop at this particular moment till we have this conversation again. Have yourself a lovely day. My name is Evans Okinyi.